Avtar Meher Baba ki jai. So let's start with oh, where is it? Yeah. Yeah. Um, Ashok, you're okay to read? You want to read, or you're
Yeah,
tired? You're
can't
tired. It's okay.
I can't see the screen. One second.
The screen is being shared.
I can see.
Yeah. Then you can go ahead, Praveen.
Okay, I'll. Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai. How to love God. To love God in the most practical way is to love our fellow beings. If we feel for others in the same way as we feel for our own dear ones, we love God. If, instead of seeing faults in others, we look within ourselves, we are loving God. If, instead of robbing others to help ourselves, we rob ourselves to help others, we are loving God. If we suffer in the suffering of others and feel happy in the happiness of others, we are loving God. If instead of worrying over our own misfortunes, we think of ourselves more fortunate than many, many others, we are loving God. If we endure our lot with patience and contentment, accept it as His will, we are loving God. If we understand and feel that the greatest act of devotion and worship to God is not to hurt or harm any of His beings, we are loving God. To love God as He ought to be loved, we must live for God and die for God, knowing that the goal of all life is to love God and find Him as our own self. Avatar Meher Baba ki jai.
Avtar Meher Baba ki jai. I hope, Ashok, you're able to see the screen now. So we can start. Before we start,
Sure.
just tell you that we are down to the last two parts on discourses. It's been quite a journey. And what is it? It's been almost 50 sessions. 50 sessions means 75 hours of recording. Wait a minute. I mean,
One
75
session
hours of
is almost a year.
what is that?
One
Yeah, you're
session
right.
a week, which is a
Yeah.
year.
No, no, it's 40, 40. So is it 40?
What? 50.
No,
Last
no,
week it was
50.
40.
It's 50. It's 50.
Yeah, last week it was 49. This is
It's
50.
exactly 50. So you're right. I think it'll just be a year's worth of sessions,
Yes.
which is 52 sessions to finish discourses. So we're down to the last two parts, Nirvikalpa Samadhi and Sahaj Samadhi. And in fact, Praveen has put together a summarization presentation of the types because it's a bit confusing in the sense that there are multiple dimensions of classification of meditation that Baba has done. And so, over the journey from part one to part seven, it's not unusual to get confused because there's a lot of overlap. There is a table of classifications and so on. Praveen has done something to nicely document it. We'll probably see it after we finish Nirvikalpa and Nirvana. By the way, we should add that also on the slide, Praveen. Right? So
Uh,
on Nirvikalpa and Nirvana, right there, uh, in the
okay.
slide where you have Sadguru and Perfect Master
Yeah, yeah.
and Avatar. There you can add
Okay.
two unconnected representations for Nirvikalpa and yeah. Anyway, we can talk about that offline.
Actually, Karthik, if you remember, I've done a article on Nirvikalpa Samadhi and Nirvikalpa. Uh,
Nirvana and Nirvikalpa Samadhi.
yeah, Nirvana and Nirvikalpa Samadhi. That's very interesting. Yes.
Okay, so you have written something, or did we review it in the group, or did we see it in the group?
Yeah. Last time, or maybe we had done this. I think we're doing discourses for the second or third time.
This is the third time. Yeah. So
I I I,
thumbs up.
I'll try to share it. It is there on Baba Awakens. I mean, in the files.
Oh, okay, great. Ah, yes, I remember. It was a presentation, right?
Yeah, it was a presentation and a file also. So you can
Uh,
share that with Praveen if he wants to take something from that.
okay.
I was
I will
about to
look
say
it
that
up.
actually.
Yeah, I will look it up. I will look it up and then we can say it. Okay, so quickly the subtopics of this part.
Mhm.
Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Nirvikalpa Samadhi is unique, pre-spiritual meditation of the worldly, illusory spontaneity of pre-spiritual meditations. True freedom and spontaneity exist only in Nirvikalpa. Meditation, a part of aspirants' struggle towards emancipation. Meditation involves effort, progression towards Nirvikalpa, individual mind annihilated in Nirvikalpa, temporary exaltation. Then there's an illustration, story of a yogi, analysis of trance meditation. Nirvikalpa Samadhi is self sustaining. And then those in Sahaj Samadhi as objects of meditation. So, because they are already in uh, a state. Yeah. Okay, so let us now go to the reading. Maybe we can start. Ravi, I mean, Praveen, are you in a position because
Yeah,
you can stop after a while.
yes, I'm in a position to read. Yeah.
Oh, all right, good. Over to you then. Avatar Meher Baba ki jai.
Avatar Meher Baba ki jai. Part 7 of Types of Meditation. Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Nirvikalpa Samadhi is unique. The different forms of meditation practiced before consciously entering the spiritual path, as well as the different forms of general and special meditation adopted after becoming an aspirant, are preparatory to the attainment of the Nirvikalpa state, that I am God state. Nirvikalpa Samadhi, or divinity in expression, is the experience of the Nirvikalpa state in which the aspirant becomes permanently established after realizing the ultimate goal of life. The Nirvikalpa Samadhi of the Siddha, or God realized being, is continuous with all the prior forms of meditation, and through the grace of perfect master, it can be the culmination of them. However, it is unique and of an entirely different dimension. Anything to discuss? Good paragraph.
Yeah, yeah. I have a question for Kama. Kama, shouldn't we be reading Nirvana first and then go to Nirvikalpa Samadhi? I know it's in the order of discourses, but don't you think Nirvana and then we do Nirvikalpa Samadhi? Kama, are you there?
Jai Baba, yes. Yeah. Jai Baba. So I think that yes, first you have to go through Nirvana, that is mandatory,
Exactly. Yeah.
to Nirvikalpa
And
Samadhi.
yeah,
And
so
also there is one
I
more thing that I wanted to make. Sorry, just as a in one of the tables, the two tables that are given in the classification of meditation of different types, there is something called absorption in divinity, which is Nirvikalpa Samadhi.
Samadhi.
Uh, sorry, I think Nirvana is given
Nirvana. Nirvana
absorption
is
in divinity. Yeah.
absorption in, yes. And
See,
divinity in
actually, it
expression
should be
is
let me tell you. See, if you know that 278, page 278, where it classifies the 56 God realized souls between Madzubs, Paramahamsa, Jivan Mukta, and Sadgurus. Madzub and Paramahamsas are in Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Jivan Muktas and Sadgurus are in Sahaja Samadhi. Now, what is the difference between a Majzub and a Paramahamsa? The Majzub is only in God consciousness state, whereas Paramahamsa is alternating between God consciousness.
Hey, we lost you.
We can't hear you, Kama.
Oops.
Yes.
Hello. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a network
you're
problem.
audible.
So, Nirvikalpa Samadhi is divinity in expression, okay, for Paramahamsa, whereas absorption in divinity should be for Majzubs, and Nirvana should be absorption in bliss, because Nirvana is not God realization, if you understand. Nirvikalpa
Yes.
Samadhi is God realization, Sachitananda. So technically, this I've been wondering, I want to clarify. I think it's a semantic problem. Absorption in, absorption in divinity means God realization. So nirvana is not God realization. It is nirvana and ordinary moksha or ordinary mukti or moksha is bliss. So nirvana should be absorption in bliss, and Nirvikalpa Samadhi has two parts: absorption in divinity, Majzub state, and Paramahamsa is expression. What is that? Uh, um, Divinity in expression. Okay, so that is something I thought I'll throw it at the audience here, to check it out. Hey, Baba.
Can I come in? I think
Yeah,
Kama.
Ravi.
Yeah.
Kama. When people get nirvana and the God speaks, it's written very clearly. They experience the vacuum state, divine vacuum state. There is no bliss. It's not a God state. That's what Baba says there. It is
Yes.
just the sanskaras are all gone. Perfect master wipes out all the sanskaras. And
Correct.
it's a state of union of unconsciousness and consciousness. So it becomes one consciousness and it experiences the divine vacuum state. So nothing is going on there. Maybe a couple
Okay.
of days or 2.5 days, they stay in that state. But again, what I want to throw in here is this Baba said this is all happening in the seventh plane, right?
Right.
Especially for the God realization people. But in that state, there's no time, space, or anything. It's just the existence in the seventh plane.
Yes.
That is something we need to, it's very hard to think how it happens. But for our sake, Baba explained as if there's a time there. The first step is this, and then Nirvikalpa Samadhi. See, that's how we look at some schedule, right? First, this action. After 10 minutes, let's say we have a meeting. First, this guy speaks, and after half an hour, the another guy speaks. That's how our mind is set. Without time, it's very difficult for us to understand. But nirvana happens uh, a buffer zone between the sixth plane and the Nirvikalpa Samadhi in the seventh plane. That's what
Yes.
it is.
Nirvana means sanskaras becoming zero, whereas
Mm,
moksha, ordinary mukti, is after the death of the body, where sanskaras are still there, but by the grace of
mm,
the master, you get liberation
mm,
and you experience bliss in
Only
ordinary.
liberation.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, no. Liberation is mukti. That's like the word love, human love, animal love. So you have Jivan Mukta, Parama Mukta. So mukti is basically one generic word called liberation, because there are different types of liberation, which is what we have: Nirvikalpa Samadhi, Sahaja Samadhi, and so on. So the basic crux is that every soul consciousness is going to experience, that is all soul consciousness will experience moksha, ordinary mukti, who don't experience nirvana or nirvikalpa samadhi. So that
mm,
is guaranteed in 84 lakh lifetimes. But we know that the nirvana happens before the dropping of the body, because sanskaras become zero and the individual consciousness experience the divine absolute vacuum state, as Ravi said, which is correct, which is the most original state of God, state one. But also, from what I have understood, is that original state of God, the absolute vacuum state, is that form of bliss, which is what we experience in the sound sleep state, unconsciously speaking. That is why
Mm.
Baba said God realization is going from unconscious divinity to conscious divinity.
Mm.
So I know it's a semantic problem, so I would love for some clarification on that. Thanks, Ravi. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Okay,
See,
so
in
what does the
moksha,
group think? Yeah, go ahead.
in moksha, I just want to add one comment. Moksha, we know it happens after the death, right? After the death, and then there is a union happens after the. See, once the soul leaves the body, the soul goes around the body for 48 to 72 hours, and then they experience the moksha. Moksha means union with the God, and they become one with the God and experience the bliss. The nirvana, nirvikal samadhi, all these things happen only when the person is in their physical form in this world. In this, do we call it gross world? Can we call it a gross world? Person who experienced God state,
Yeah.
he always has a physical body, right? With all the organs, just like all what we have. That happens only in the physical body. Yeah.
Yes, all the reading that we've done suggests it is in in this gross world. Yes.
Hmm.
So, by the way, if you're seeing the screen, Ashok, I pulled up your presentation. I don't know whether you're seeing my screen. This is your presentation.
You can share it with the group, and you can also share it with Praveen
I will.
if he wants to incorporate something
Sure,
on
sure.
that. And
Yeah,
also,
sure.
I'm sorry, I'm unable to see the screen. Some problem on my. Uh, I have updated Teams also, but I need some help from you, Karthik. Maybe offline or so.
Yeah, connect and reconnect. Maybe that's what happened last week. We were not able to see the screen, and then when you reconnected, it worked. Anyway,
I'll connect. Yeah.
yeah, just reconnect. Coming to the moot question. So shall we read it in that order? If everybody agrees, we'll go to Nirvana and then come to Nirvikalpa Samadhi.
Okay, so nirvana is in another.
Part 8.
It is in another 8.
It's
Sahaj
part
Samadhi.
8.
What it is Sahaj Samadhi?
Sahaj Samadhi. Correct. Yeah. So then it's fine. Then this is the right order. We'll continue with the same para. Sorry, apologies.
Hey, Karthik, I have a
Yeah.
fundamental question. Uh,
Hmm.
if you can allow me, maybe,
Thanks, Karthik. No, I can see the screen.
Yeah, sure.
okay. The fundamental question is this: when the people are experiencing the subtle world, are you there?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
go
Yeah.
yes.
ahead. He's there.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
on mute.
So when, let's say, for example, there are people in the subtle world and people in the mental world, right? And Baba said the people in the subtle world, they have subtle body. And whereas we are in the grass world with a grass body. And all of us have physical body. So what does subtle body or mental body mean? For example, Mast Muhammad, Baba said he's in the fifth plane. So he used to live in Lower Mehrabad, and he had a physical body. He's not conscious, but he has a physical body with all the organs and everything. And he's eating, sleeping, all these things are happening, even though unconscious. So what does, for example, a mental body mean?
Jai Baba.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Did you finish the
Yes,
question?
that's my question.
Okay. So the way I look at it is like this. The human form, the human body has two parts. One is the material body and one is the spiritual body. The material body is three: gross body, subtle body, mental body. The gross body is what we call the gross physical senses: touch, taste, sound, smell, sight. The gross physical body, the subtle energy body, emotions, feelings, and the mental body or the causal body, which is the intellect, the repository of sanskaras, the mind. So, according to your question, most people in the world who are living in the material world is basically the gross world, subtle world, mental world, but we call it technically the gross physical world, the matter, I mean, the laws of matter, the material world, where most people like us who are using our gross physical body to directly experience the gross physical senses, but indirectly use the subtle body to experience desires and emotions, and indirectly use the mental body for our intellect. Once you are in the planes of involution between the first plane and the fourth plane, aspirant is using directly the subtle body and indirectly the gross body and the mental body. And in the fifth and sixth plane, the aspirant is using the mental body and experiencing the mental world, but indirectly using the gross body and the subtle body to experience the emotions and the day-to-day. This is how I've understood basically. Hey, Baba.
So is it, can I imagine, let's say for example, mental person, Must Muhammad, he has got a mental sanskaras, all the mental sanskaras. All the sanskaras together, Baba is calling as a body, mental body.
See, when you are using a gross body, you are dealing with your gross sanskaras. When you are using the subtle body between the first plane and the fourth plane, you are dealing with your subtle sanskaras, directly. Of course, you have the mental sanskaras also.
Right, right.
So when you are in the fifth and sixth plane, naturally you will be dealing with your mental the mental sanskaras,
Yeah,
So,
that I understand.
so that depends on what plane of consciousness you are in. Are you in the
Fifth plane, let's say fifth or sixth plane. I'm on the fifth or sixth plane.
or
Baba says, but I have a mental body,
oops,
but I also
so
have physical body.
yeah, no. Look, mental gross body. Let's try to be very specific about the terminology. The material body, the human form, has three bodies: gross body, subtle body, and mental body. Depending on the aspirant's degree of consciousness on what plane he is, he will be using that particular body. So when
Using
you're
or
in the fifth,
so can I
yes,
again, we're being semantic, so I'll interrupt. So is it
yeah,
using or is it aware of? Because I think
no.
you cannot wish away the mental body. As we are speaking on this call, the mental body has a role. It's the source of our sanskaras.
Yes,
It's making up the perception of the gross world that we see today. Okay, and without
yes,
the mental body, my existence as Karthik Balasubramaniam is not possible. So it's just that I am not aware and I am not cognizant in the traditional sense of the word of my mental bodies. Can I
I,
tell you what's in my mental body now? No, but it's
no,
there.
no. I
That's
think
what
I
I
think
see. That's the way I see
that
it.
is that is not a way of looking at it. The way I would look
Okay.
at it is
Okay.
all of us are using all the three bodies. Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
do use your mind, intellect. What I said was, if you're in the gross plane of existence, you are directly using the gross body and indirectly using the other two bodies. If you're
That's
living in
better.
the subtle plane of existence between the first and fourth plane, then you're directly using the subtle body and indirectly using the other two bodies. This is very clearly indicated in God Speaks.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. 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 Yes.
Yes, I think
Okay.
that's
I mean,
better. That's much
compared to what the potential we have in using either mental body or subtle body, what we are using in the gross plane is almost traces of it. That's how Baba writes it. Traces of. Yeah.
So
Okay.
there is a small
Got it.
explanation somewhere given in Baba, saying that the persons who are in what you call the mental body state, they do like we in the normal world, we see them eating, sleeping, and doing all the gross world works, speaking to someone and everything. He said that all these are manifestations of their work in their world. What we see is not what they actually do. They actually work in their planes, and what we see in the physical world is a like is a, as a resultant of it what we are seeing here, but it is not what they actually do. We cannot understand it because we are not in that world. It is also
Actually,
mentioned.
can I answer that? Can I answer that?
Yes, yes,
So, so in creation and its causes, and Baba mentioned, and also in nothing and everything. So there are two types of people, right? One is in the people who are in the subtle plane and mental plane. There are two types. One type is people who have guru, who are holding on to guru. The second type is people who are not holding on to the guru. So the people who are holding on to the guru are conscious, whatever the plane they are in, but they are subconscious, but they are conscious of the real world. They are in the normal. They look like normal, like you and I. One example is in Switzerland, this construction worker. He's Baba's agent. Baba said he's an agent, and he's like a construction attire. He has all these boots and a cap and helmet and all that stuff. So when Baba was going on a boat ride, he comes and sits across Baba, and he sleeps. And after half an hour, he gets up and goes. And then before getting down, he looks at Baba, and Baba smiles, he smiles, and then they depart. And then Baba said, he is my agent. He is in fifth plane or sixth plane. He's married, he has got kids, he's a construction worker, he leads a normal life, but his kids and wife don't even know. And his real work is the duty of being in the fifth plane or sixth plane. Yeah, those people who don't have a guru, they are lost in these planes. They are going into these heavens, and they enjoy the heavens and get lost, get stuck there for thousands of years. Whereas if we have guru, our travel will be very, very fast, jumping from one plane to the other plane. Jai Baba.
Hey Baba,
yes,
yesterday we
God.
were discussing about the must and the saliks. We know from the terminology of God speaks, the real must is basically the majzup, who is God intoxicated, and the real salik or the majzup salik, salik majzup, who is a paramahamsa, or the real salik is the jivan mukta. So, what is that state? So, supplementing what Ravi said, so musts are basically stuck in the different planes of involution. As he rightly said, they don't have a guru. Whereas you can say the opposite of the must, the salik, who is God conscious, who has body consciousness, and he gave an example. So that person that he talked about is part of the 7,000 spiritual hierarchy, where all these different people are placed in different planes and are doing work for the universe. Hey, Baba.
Okay, I think just to pull everything back, let's go back on the journey and finish the two parts in this order, but very beautiful discussion. I think good questions, great answers. I'm not trying to cut you guys off, but I think can we get back to the reading?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I've also dropped the two presentations or two documents that were created by Ashok on the chat. So those of you who want to grab it, specifically Praveen, just grab it and save a local copy. And let's start from the beginning, part 7. Just quickly read the first paragraph again, Praveen, if you don't mind.
So I'll try to.
Jai Baba.
Part 7, Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Nirvikalpa Samadhi is unique. The different forms of meditation practiced before consciously entering the spiritual path, as well as the different forms of general and special meditation adopted after becoming an aspirant, are preparatory to the attainment of the Nirvikalpa state, the I am God state. The Nirvikalpa Samadhi, or divinity in expression, is the experience of the Nirvikalpa state in which the aspirant becomes permanently established after realizing the ultimate goal of life. The Nirvikalpa Samadhi of the Siddha, or God realized being, is continuous with all the prior forms of meditation, and through the grace of a perfect master, it can be culmination of them. However, it is unique and of an entirely different dimension. So there we stop. Now this will be the fresh reading. Pre-spiritual meditation of the worldly. The spontaneity of Nirvikalpa Samadhi must be carefully distinguished from the pseudo sense of spontaneity present in the usual meditations of the worldly person who has not yet entered the path. The mind of the worldly individual is engrossed in sense objects, and he experiences no feeling of effort in meditating on these objects. His mind dwells upon them because of its natural interest in them and not because of any deliberate effort on his part. The sense of effort does not arise from allowing the mind to dwell upon these diverse worldly objects, but from trying to dissuade it from them. So the spiritual forms of meditation seem to
Pre-spiritual.
have some, oh sorry, so the pre-spiritual forms of meditation seem to have some similarity with the culminating Nirvikalpa Samadhi of the Siddha in having a sense of spontaneity. But this resemblance between the initial phase of meditation and its final phase is only superficial, since Nirvikalpa Samadhi and pre-spiritual meditations are divided from each other by vital difference of great spiritual importance.
What a subtle difference, but an important one, right? So
So,
there is a similarity, yet significant difference between the pre-spiritual and Nirvikalpa because of the spontaneity of the objects that are being focused on it.
Suggest
exactly. So always the
Jai Baba Karthik.
Yeah, Ashok and then Praveen. Yeah,
No,
Ashok.
no, I just suggest that we can highlight that portion which you said is bringing out the difference. Since you've identified the difference
The whole
between
yeah.
whole paragraph or
So
the
this
one
is
about
the pseudo sense of spontaneity that Baba is talking about. So, I mean, it's just a subtle uh, point that's being made. So it's important for us to yeah, we'll highlight it. Yeah, good idea.
yeah, those on the path, for them it's important.
Yeah.
So see, Jai Baba, it pre-spiritually means people who are entangled in the material world. They are not interested in spirituality. That it says
Yes.
meditations of the worldly person who has not yet
the path.
an aspirant. He's not a spiritual aspirant. A pre-spiritual meditation of the worldly is like the BMB, the Bezos,
Exactly.
Musk, Branson type of guy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Thorough thinking on some object or
And
on
I
some
think
worldly thing.
if you look at both the tables, those two tables are very good references. You know, one should always keep it when you're reading this, because it helps you to classify it and explain these differences, vividly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can you
Baba.
just upload, if you have the permission, can you just upload that current copy of your presentation, Praveen, so I can have it all in one screen. Otherwise, you'll have to keep switching who is sharing. If you can, if you're not on the laptop, it's
Yeah,
okay. Next time we can.
I'm just putting on the laptop for the issue, so I can send it to you on the chat. Right?
Yeah, yeah, sure. I don't know if it permits you. Depends on the team's permissions. Yeah. Anyway, please continue. Let's not distract. But he's created a table, Kama. You joined late. Praveen has done some work, so we can actually keep that as a reference. He has done some good work on putting it up on slides.
It's not complete, but it's
Okay.
on
Yeah,
the.
yeah, in progress. Yeah.
We'll go to the next topic. Illusory spontaneity of spiritual meditations. I was just saying something. Yeah, I was saying uh, that always two opposites, the quite opposites, will have some many similar characteristics. Like a foolish person and a highly intellectual person will hold similar characteristics, kind of. I'm just trying to say. So it is similarity, the pre-spiritual meditation and the similarity brought we have between the similarity of pre-spiritual meditation and Nirvikalpa Samadhi just uh, got me this into my mind. That's all.
Yeah, subtle but big difference. So his mind is blank or mind is full or whatever. Yeah.
But I will just continue.
Yeah,
Illusory
please.
spontaneity of sorry,
Yeah, yeah, please.
uh,
Sorry.
illusory spontaneity of pre-spiritual meditations. The sense of spontaneity experienced in pre-spiritual meditations concerned with worldly objects and pursuits is due to the interest created by sanskaras. These spiritual meditations are the working out of the momentum of accumulated sanskaras of the past, and they are not only far from being the expression of true freedom, but are actually symptoms of spiritual bondage. At the pre-spiritual level, man is engulfed in unrelieved ignorance concerning the goal of infinite freedom. Though he is far from being happy and contented, he identifies so deeply with sanskaric interests that he experiences gratification in their furtherance. But the pleasure of his pursuits is conditional and transitory, and the spontaneity he experiences in them is illusory because throughout all his pursuits, his mind is working under limitations. I think the subtle difference which you're speaking of is brought up here.
Absolutely. And it's also the finite mind. The finite mind is illusory, and he's just focusing on his sanskaric objects, right? So, I mean, the the sanskaric baggage forces him to focus on things that are absolutely of the material world alone. But then it's spontaneous, it is finite, and hence illusory.
Correct. Yes. So we go to the next topic.
Please.
True freedom and spontaneity exist only in Nirvikalpa. The mind is capable of genuine freedom and spontaneity of action only when it is completely free from sanskaric ties and interests, and it is possible only when the mind is merged in the state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi of the Siddha. It is therefore important to note that though there may seem to be a superficial resemblance between Nirvikalpa Samadhi of the Siddha and the pre-spiritual meditations of the worldly, this resemblance really hides the important difference between the illusory spontaneity and true spontaneity, bondage and freedom, fleeting pleasure and abiding happiness. In the pre-spiritual meditations, The movement of the mind is under unconscious compulsion, and in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, mental activity is released under conscious and unfettered initiative. Furtherance of it.
Just the topic, yeah.
Now, meditation, a part of aspirants' struggle toward emancipation. Okay. The different forms of meditation that characterize the life of the spiritual aspirant stand midway between the pre-spiritual meditations of the worldly individual and the final Nirvikalpa Samadhi of the Siddha. They also constitute the link between them. When a person's primary ac- acquiescence is sanskaric interests is profoundly disturbed by setback. Sorry, I think I should start this again. When a person's primary acquiescence is sanskaric interests, acquiescence in sanskaric interests is profoundly disturbed by setback, defeat, and suffering, or is shaken by a spark of spiritual understanding, he becomes conscious of his bondage and the falseness of his perceptions. All the different forms of meditation that are then resorted to by the aspirant arise as part of his struggle toward emancipation from the bondage of the deceptive desires of the worldly. The forms of meditation that are spiritually important begin when the person has become an aspirant or sadhak. It is very nice, isn't it?
Very beautiful.
Meditation involves effort. The meditation of the aspirant in all its forms is deliberate, in the sense that it is experienced as counteracting instinctive or other tendencies inherent in the mind. The aspirant adopts different forms of meditation as means to an end, that is because he looks upon them as avenues to the truth. They are not working out of some given impulse but are parts of an intelligent and deliberate effort. Although these forms of meditations may be deliberate to start with, the mind gradually becomes habituated to them. The mind is also interested in the various aspects of truth which the different forms of meditation try to seize upon, and this increases spontaneity. Anything to discuss here? Because these are good paragraphs we have gone through.
Yeah, I think, but they're pretty
Pretty good, yeah.
straightforward, unless
Easy
somebody has a
understandable.
comment or a question. Yeah.
In none of the meditations of a sadhak, in none of the meditations of a sadhak are the elements of spontaneity more pronounced than in the forms of personal meditation that give scope for and require the expression of love. But utter spontaneity and true freedom remain unattained until the goal of meditation is achieved. Till then, there is usually a mixture of a sense of deliberateness and sense of spontaneity. The reaching out towards spiritual freedom is accompanied throughout by a sense of effort, which persists in some degree until all obstacles of false perceptions are overcome. Though effort may vary in its intensity, it never disappears entirely until it is swallowed up in the tranquility of final attainment.
I just want to bring up this word spontaneity. Baba uses it quite in different instances. When does a person get the spontaneity? I mean, in whatever the Baba uses in expressing the love, in not being selfish, and whatever the situation Baba used here. spontaneity.
So, are you asking that when it generally comes or when it comes in this meditation specific?
It's only when somebody is mentally prepared for that situation, then spontaneity comes, right? Uh, let's say I feel like, after my meal, I want to eat sweet. I want to eat sweet. Whoever calls, hey, I have a sweet. Who wants to eat? Then I would raise my hand immediately. Hey, I want it. That means my mind is set up to eat a sweet, and when somebody calls for that, spontaneously I act to raise my hand, to stretch my hand to grab that sweet. That's just a gross example. So when we are giving so much of importance to the love, selfless love, when our mind is full of selfless love, when the situation calls for, usually a gross-minded person thinks, if I do this, what's going to happen to my schedule if something happens, all these things, what am I going to lose? Whereas the person who is mentally ready with that love, without being selfish, spontaneously he jumps to the situation. In Bangalore,
Yeah,
once I
Baba.
was.
Yeah, Baba. I think spontaneity, first of all, is about context, and
Hmm.
spontaneity has to be natural. For example, when we are breathing, it's mind. Natural spontaneity, spontaneous is basically where there's no reaction. It is effortless action. The
Hmm.
thing is that, for example, in the child, where there is no mind, the relationship between the parent and the child, it's a spontaneous relationship. So I think that when the Big Bang happened, Baba says in beams, simultaneously and spontaneously, two things happened. A whim is a spontaneous action, having a whim. There's a difference between the whim and actually a reaction. When you're trying to see a beggar in the train, you are trying to figure out, should I give this person something or not? It is not spontaneous. Whereas if you have somebody close to you, a relative or somebody in the house, and they need something, you're spontaneously doing something. There is no mind. That is how I look at it. No mind is a natural spontaneous state. Jai
Yeah.
Baba.
Yeah,
I think both the explanations are great.
that's a very interesting way of looking at spontaneity. Yes, no mind.
Yes.
No mind is spontaneous. Yes, you're doing something without application of process of the mind, logic.
No,
Which
where
Baba?
we are using the spontaneity, that matters, right? In what situations are we using spontaneity? That matters.
That matters. I mean, from a understanding of the word,
Hmm.
I liked Kama's description. I think that's
Example.
spot
Yeah.
on. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, please.
The way Ravi explained and also Kama explained, actually, they explained both of them explained very nice and lucid way, which is something like which is your heart. Spontaneity is what your heart says without your mind. And
Hmm.
if your heart is on the oversoul or the truth, or the perfect master or the avatar, then that is what spontaneously comes. And Meher Baba in the earlier paragraphs when he is mentioning that personal meditation i- is the only place where the spontaneity comes automatically on, in the path. I think he's referring to the same thing. If you have love towards the avatar or perfect master uh, as your meditation, then the spontaneity comes, isn't it?
Uh,
Uh,
it, are you in a position to continue, Praveen, or you want to rotate because also it's 6:45?
yeah, yeah. I just thought to say that, yeah. If you can rotate now, it's better.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
as
it's good. Yeah.
Participant said that through WhatsApp to you, I couldn't be sending it through Teams. I tried, it's not going. So
Oh,
I
okay.
sent it
I'll grab
through
it.
your WhatsApp.
Yeah, I'll grab it. And anyway, once it's complete, maybe we You can present it next week. Yeah. Jai Baba, thank you so much. Ravi, are you in a position to read?
Yeah,
Please.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, thank you.
Progression towards Nirvikalpa. In Nirvikalpa Samadhi, there is no effort because there are no obstacles to overcome or objectives to achieve. There is the infinite spontaneity of unfettered freedom and the unbroken peace and bliss of truth realization. Progression towards the Nirvikalpa state consists in a transition from a state of unquestioned acquiescence in the momentum of sanskaras to a state of desperate struggle with sanskaric limitations, and finally to a state of complete freedom when consciousness is no longer determined by the deposits of the past but is active in the undimmed perception of the eternal truth. Very good. There's one example which Baba talked differently about the sixth plane people in the mental world, in the sixth plane. And in one book, in Creation and Its Conscious, Creation and Causes, Baba wrote, the people in the sixth plane, they don't care, they're not anxious to get the God realization because they're enjoying their life, normal beings, and they have the sight of the God. That's what Baba wrote in the Creation and Its Causes. In a couple other instances, Baba wrote that the people they suffer a lot because of this separation from God. They see God, but they experience infinite suffering, something like that. He wrote uh, to be in that sixth plane. So both seems to be a little bit controversial for our mind at least. So yeah, individual mind annihilated in Nirvikalpa. The Nirvikalpa Samadhi of a Siddhi is different from meditation of the aspirant, not only with respect to freedom and spontaneity of consciousness, but also with respect to many other important points. All the different forms of meditation that the aspirant might be engaged in, directly or indirectly, aim at securing a complete merging of the mind in the infinite truth. However, they only partially succeed in this merging and fall short of the annihilation of the individual mind. They represent varying degrees of approximation to the spiritual goal, but not its realization. On the other hand, in the Nirvikalpa state, there is realization of the spiritual goal, since the limited mind is completely annihilated and has arrived at a total merging in the infinite truth.
So it's basically the final state, right? So you go through various steps and focus on the smaller objects, or the should I say the individual truths, but then you go to the universal infinite truth in the end.
Temporary exaltation. The aspirant's meditation in its higher flights often brings a sense of expansion and freedom, as well as the joy and illumination of the higher planes. But none of these are abiding because, in most cases, when the aspirant comes down from the exalted state of meditation, he is again what he was, namely, an ordinary person who is bound in the unyielding shackles of sanskaric limitations.
In all other stages, yeah. Now there's a illustration.
Story of a yogi. The incompleteness of the different samadhis of the aspirant may be illustrated by the story of a yogi from Gwalior, India, who was very greedy. Through yoga, he had mastered the art of going into samadhi. One day he sat opposite to the palace of the Raja, and before going into samadhi, thought, I must have 1,000 rupees from the Raja. Then he went into samadhi and remained in that state for 7 full days. During this period, he took out no food or drink but only sat in one place, completely absorbed in trance meditation. People took him to be a saint, and when the Raja came to know about him, he also went to have his darshan. The Raja went near the yogi and happened to touch him on his back. The light touch was sufficient to bring him down from the samadhi. And as soon as he woke up from his trance meditation, he asked Raja for 1,000 rupees. Okay.
So what kind of meditation was this yogi indulging in?
We just practiced what kind of meditation? I'm not sure about that, but there are different kinds of meditation where he was able to achieve that samadhi state.
So it is a spiritual meditation, but he had a sanskaric focus that or sanskaric thought that was enveloping his consciousness just before he embarked on it, and so it didn't get him anywhere.
Yeah.
A
He
light
was, he was
touch.
interested in siddhis. He was interested in siddhis, basically, occult part and, using his power. So a lot of people do that kind of different types of yoga techniques, tantric yoga, tantra yoga, and all that. So that is one of the reasons why Baba says the presence of a master or being focused on an avatar is very important rather than doing it on your own, because you can get distracted.
Yes. Yeah. Guru plays a major role in our spiritual path. Major role. Right from the beginning to the end. Analysis of trance meditation. Just as a prisoner who looks out of the window of his prison and gazes at the vast expanse of the sky may get lost in the vision of unlimited space, the aspirant who enters into trance meditation may temporarily forget all his limitations while immersed in its light and bliss. But though the prisoner may have forgotten the prison, he has not escaped from it. In the same way, the aspirant who is absorbed in trance meditation has lost sight of the chains that bind him to the world of illusion, but he has not really broken through them. Just as the prisoner again becomes conscious of his bondage as soon as he gazes at his immediate surroundings, the aspirant becomes conscious of all his failings as soon as he regains normal consciousness. The ascending forms of trance meditation may bring the aspirant increasing occult powers, but not that unending state of knowledge and bliss that is continuously accessible in Nirvikalpa Samadhi to the Siddha, who has attained final emancipation by breaking through the chains of Maya.
That's the explanation.
See, one thing we have to remember, we can become great meditators. We can do all the things what the spiritual principles follow by doing the work and not expecting the results and doing all the charity. All these things will clear the present, whatever the sanskaras you're going to create, that is clear. You can become a great yogi and go into the samadhi and all these things. But sometime you have to come back to the normal state and you still have to deal with the the past baggages we are carrying. That is the big thing, Baba says. So the only way to deal with that is to be in love with the God and being dependent on Him and love Him. That's the only way. No matter how samadhi states we reach and all these things, they have to come back to the same state.
Yeah. Moment you're coming back to the state, then you're not yet in Nirvikalpa. You've not yet
Yeah.
reached. Yeah,
No.
that's it.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's why Baba, all this Mandali, initial days in 27 and 30s, nothing was happening to them. People would ask them, hey, you have been spending all your life, leaving the family, spending time with Meher Baba. What are you gaining? Nothing. They don't have anything to say. And many Swamijis come and they come and spend like a couple nights, and then they don't see anything like a traditional methods of whatever is described in Vedas and scriptures. Baba was following something normal, regular life. They're just getting up regularly and taking bath and doing regular things. They were disappointed and they used to leave. Interesting.
Yep.
Nirvikalpa Samadhi, self sustained. Another important difference is that in trance meditation, the aspirant is usually sustained by some object capable of exercising irresistible attraction. The lights, colors, smells, and sounds of the subtle sphere play a part in alluring the mind from the worldly things it may have been attached to. Thus, trance meditation is not self sustained but is dependent upon the object to which the mind directs itself. The Nirvikalpa Samadhi of the Siddha is self sustained and is in no way dependent upon any object of the mind. Trance meditation is more like the stupor of intoxicating drugs. The intoxication lasts only as long as the effect of the drug lasts. So the trance continues to exist as long as the mind is under the sway of the object it is sustained by. Nirvikalpa, which is free from the domination of the object, is a state of full wakefulness in which there is no ebb and flow, waxing or waning, but only the steadiness of the true perception. The different forms of general
Yeah,
previous
yeah. I'll just read the topic, subtopic. The
oh
subtopic
yeah,
is those in
those
Sahaj
in Sahas
Samadhi.
Samadhi as objects of meditation. Yeah. The different forms of general specialized meditation restored to by the aspirant are useful and valuable within their own limits. They must not be regarded as having the same value for all or as being equally necessary to all. They are among the ways that led the aspirant towards his divine destination. For the few who are in an advanced spiritual state, most of the ordinary forms of meditation are unnecessary. See, here is the statement, right?
Yeah.
For those who are in direct contact with a perfect master or the avatar. Okay, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, I just
For,
wanted to go
for
to I thought you were reading the previous line. Please continue.
yeah, for those who are in direct contact with the perfect master or the avatar, many of the special forms of meditation are often unnecessary. See, this is what Baba says. It is enough for them to be under the guidance of the master and to love him. And those rare beings who have attained self realization and have become perfect masters themselves are always in the state of Sahas Samadhi or divinity in action. They not only do not need any forms of meditation, but they themselves become objects of meditation for the aspirants. For they are then able to give their best help to those who meditate upon them.
So with that, there's a introduction of the next part, which is the Sahaj Samadhi, which is divinity in action. So you leave the Nirvikalpa state and come to the the creative universe and perform all actions again, your actions are only to further the spiritual progress of the entire creation, and you are also offering yourself as an object of meditation and support for those who are in the path.
Hmm.
Jai Baba, just come back to that paragraph one, please. The
Yeah.
one, see, yeah. For those who are in direct contact with the perfect master or avatar, many forms, many of the special forms of meditation are often unnecessary. So that gives an answer that we need not be involved in. Uh, I mean, may not be involved in any special forms of meditation or specific meditation when you are with the perfect master. So I think that gives the answer to what uh, when Mandali was with the perfect master, or when he was there with the avatar. So they were not doing anything but just being with him. So his sevas for his company was more than enough. And one more thing which Kama had told me is that meditation is simply with your breath in, it's Ba, your breath out is Ba. So Baba. So his Baba's Nam Smaran, or if you can't do anything else, just his repetition of his name is enough. I mean, that's of course the one of the ways, but then all this required. Jai Baba.
Yeah.
Jai Baba, just a comment. I think that we have to be very careful about the context. First
Hmm.
of all, it's mentioned that in this meditation chapters, that each person's unique sanskaras will determine what kind of meditation is required. And if they are in the presence of a perfect master or a guru, that guru will be able to give them the right kind of meditation for a particular amount of time. It will change. So it's unique to each person. Yes, you're right. If you're part of the Baba's Mandali, if you're a Mandali of a perfect master, you're living 24 by 7 with him, or you're in correspondence with him and he directs your life, then it's a different kind of meditation, following the orders of the living perfect master. But for people like us who don't have the direct connection now, we have to use, like I use the seven awakenings postulates, how to love Baba. Plus, I use my own meditation techniques, whether I do Hatha Yoga, Kriya Yoga, Vipassana, because it helps me to keep my body fit. The body is the temple of the soul. So I think one has to use one's own intuition, what kind of meditation practice that you would like to practice. Yes, the Baba thing is also good, but it can become like a semantic situation, a mechanical way of saying something without putting your heart into it. So one has to be very careful about these kind of comments, Jai Baba.
See,
Agreed, Kama. One
one
has
thing I
to
would
put
like to
the
One.
comment.
so, Jai Baba,
Yeah.
I just want to say that one has to put the heart and soul. It's not just mechanical.
Yeah. But the risk, without that context that Kama said, or what Kama is talking about, the risk is that you may do it mechanically
Yeah, yeah,
and have satiation as well. Oh, I've done it. I'm doing it,
yeah,
and
yeah.
so on. Right. That's the
Point.
point.
It's
Ravi,
a
you were
valid
saying
point.
something.
Valid point.
Yeah. See, I don't know how to say this, but see, we are under the guidance of the avatar. As long as you love Baba, as long as you depend on Baba while being active in your daily life, You are under his guidance. So this does apply to us. We don't have to be a mandali. We don't have to be present when Baba was there alive in his physical body. Because Baba said, more than being in my presence, what is more important is to remember me. This is what Baba said. As long as we remember him with love, while being in the uh, actively involved in our life, we are in the company of the Baba. So this applies to us also. There's something we have to understand that. And maybe you will experience it. I'm sure we all will experience when our love for Baba becomes deep. You feel you are in the presence of Baba. Jai Baba.
But
Yeah, yeah.
Ravi, I have a comment on that. Loving Baba and remembering his name is right, but it has to be complemented by our day to day living, how we practice our loving relationships with our daily activities. I think that is the key out here. Yes, if you are able to remember Baba's name and able to implement all those seven awakenings, my wish, how to love God, and so on, then I think what you're saying is correct. But just remembering Baba's name and not just doing theoretical stuff and not practicing anything, I think that is where the problem is. That's my point. Jai Baba.
See, there are, even Hafiz also said, Baba said in the God Speaks. However, there are number of people, jivas are there. There are how many ways of being in the company of the God, of reaching God, actually. So whatever one has the method, we are all in a journey. One may be fast, one may be slow, but we are all in a journey. How they progress depends upon each individual. We cannot say, hey, my method is the greatest method. Your method is not good. There's no such thing as each method is good for themselves. Then Baba will activate it. When the situation comes, believe me, Baba will accelerate the situation. And you have no other choice than to run. Even if you're not a runner, you will run. That I can say with my personal experience. Jai Baba.
Yeah, so he's working. I mean, I just brought up the screen where it's still a work in progress, but then we'll finish this probably this week, and then we can see this in summary. Um, so we can actually continue to the next part if everybody's okay to Sahaj Samadhi, right? So the last one. This is completed now. How much time do we have? Oh, just have 15. We have 15 minutes, so let's do it. Um, Culmination of meditation, Nirvikalpa Samadhi experienced after union, body state, energy state, mind state. Mind veils the truth. Then you transcend the mind, God state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, life in eternity, and two states that precede Sahaj Samadhi. Then there is a description again of moksha, nirvana, and nirvikalpa, and state of Sadgurus and the avatar. So let us go into the next part. Part 7, Sahaj Samadhi. If you're happy to continue, you can continue, or I can read for a while, Ravi.
Yeah, go
Part
ahead,
8.
read.
Did I hear Ashok wanting to read? Yeah, please, Ashok. You didn't. Yeah.
No. I'm just saying that you said part 7, and it's actually
Part
part.
8, part 8. Yeah, part 8. Yeah.
And
Sorry.
is my voice clear or better?
Yes, better, clear. No issues.
Or
Yeah, then read, Ashok.
Sorry, I lost the screen. Yes, sorry. Somebody else should read.
Oh, you don't have the screen visible. Okay, I will read. Part 8, Sahaj Samadhi, culmination of meditation. When the mind totally merges in the truth, it experiences the nirvikalpa state of spontaneous bliss of uninterrupted self knowledge, in which the aspirant loses his limited individuality to discover that he is identical with God, who is in everything. By the grace of a perfect master, the Nirvikalpa state becomes the culmination of the earlier forms of personal and impersonal meditation and not their product. I repeat, by the grace of a perfect master, the Nirvikalpa state becomes the culmination of the earlier forms of personal and impersonal meditation and not their product. So it's not that you go through the personal and impersonal forms of meditation and get to Nirvikalpa as a result, but it is the culmination. All forms of meditation followed by the aspirant, as well as his other spiritual efforts, in spite of their differences, have only one aim, namely to speed up the fruition of his longing to be united with the infinite. Nirvikalpa Samadhi experienced after union. When this union is effected, the sadhak, aspirant, becomes a siddha, one who has attained the goal. The union with the infinite that the siddha achieves is referred to by the Sufis as vasal. It is this state of union with God that is described by Jesus Christ in the words, I and my Father are one. Many have written about this high state of consciousness, but it remains essentially indescribable. It cannot be expressed in words, and therefore it cannot be adequately explained. Though it can never be explained by one person to another, it can be experienced by one for oneself. This nirvikalpa state, when experienced by the siddha, is nirvikalpa samadhi. So now the states, body state, energy state, and mind state, body state. To dwell in Nirvikalpa Samadhi is to experience the God state in which the soul knows itself to be God because it has shed all the limiting factors that had hitherto contributed toward false self knowledge. The God state of the Siddha stands out in clear contrast with the body state of the worldly. The worldly individual takes himself to be the body and dwells in a state dominated by the body and its wants. His consciousness centers on the body. He is concerned with eating, drinking, sleeping, and the satisfaction of other bodily desires. It is for the body that he lives and seeks fulfillment. His consciousness cannot extend beyond the body. He thinks in terms of the body and cannot conceive of anything that has no body or form. The entire sphere of his existence is comprised of forms, and the theater in which he lives and moves and has his being consists of space. So you are limited by space, and everything that you relate to or starts and ends the experience of the world around you is through the body. The point Kama made, the five senses. So you use the five senses, and that's your only way of engagement with the rest of the world. And hence, your consciousness centers on the body. Next is the energy state. The first step toward this God state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi is taken when the body state is transcended. Shedding the body state means entering the sphere of existence comprised of energy. The soul then dwells in a state that is no longer dominated by forms or bodies. It is lifted up to the domain of energy. Body or form is a solidification of energy, and to rise from the world of forms to the sphere of energy amounts to an advance toward a more primary and purer state of being. The energy state is free from many of the limitations that obtain in the world of forms. In this state, consciousness is linked with energy and continuously vibrates in and through energy. So, what is energy state? So how do you know if you're making that transcension?
Jay Baba, I just had a thought to share. Is this transcendental meditation? And what you just read is very profound, but there is also a form of meditation known as transcendental
Hey,
meditation.
that's a registered trademark owned by a particular person, and it has a semantic uh, reference and description that we better go to him. That's Mahesh Yogi's term. We'll leave it with him.
Okay,
So
okay.
let's not get confused. And
Yeah,
yeah, you're talking about Mahesh Yogi's TM. TM is a registered term that he defines, and yeah, I mean here my transcendence or what I used that word was just taking it from what Baba says here, where you transcend from body state.
shedding the body state means entering the sphere of existence comprised of energy. The soul then
Yeah.
dwells in a state that is no longer dominated by forms or bodies. It is lifted up to the domain of energy. So I think this is a good definition of, I mean, we just leave.
No, no. Again, don't go to transcendental meditation. I think my humble request is when we are in the Baba world and looking at Baba literature, we have to use the vocabulary that he has provided. And that would make our journey uh, consistent because we'll be saying and speaking and understanding the same things. So that's why I'm very conscious of not using even when we are tempted to see parallels in Vedanta, when we see parallels of Ramana Maharishi, when we see nothing wrong, everybody is saying the same thing. Everybody is the only destination is the same. But I'm only tempted, I'm only forced to state that if you are learning, I'll use a language, I will use a analogy that is very relevant to my life. If I'm coding in a particular programming language, right? So let's say I'm coding in C++. I cannot use terms or words in that code which are from another language. It only
Yeah,
confuse. It
yeah, okay.
only, yeah. So I
Ashok,
hope I'm not.
to add to your question, it's basically transcending from the gross plane of existence to the subtle plane of existence, which is energy, and then from the subtle plane, it go to the mental plane, which is the mind and intellect and all that. So that is what this
Yeah.
word transcendence means, basically. Basically, our job is to transcend all the three bodies, not to identify false identification with a material body, gross, subtle, or mental in any of the planes, and not getting caught up in creation. That is the whole object of living. Jai Baba.
Yes. Yeah, Baba.
Thanks. Thanks.
Uh, I'll continue. In the energy state, the eating and drinking of the body state are paralleled by the absorption and assimilation of energy. At this level, the soul acquires full control over energy and seeks fulfillment through its use. But its actions are still within the domain of spiritual limitation. It can see, hear, and smell many things that are inaccessible in the body state and can perform many feats. For example, producing light in the dark or living for innumerable years only on energy, which seem to be miracles for those who are in the body state. The entire sphere of the soul's existence is comprised of energy and is dominated by energy. All that it can conceive of or do is in terms of energy and is achieved by means of energy. The energy state is the state of spiritually advanced souls, but it is far from being the state of perfection which expresses itself through the Nirvikalpa Samadhi of the Siddha. Okay? Now, the mind state. The second important step toward Nirvikalpa Samadhi is taken when the soul transcends the domain of energy and enters the domain of the mind. All energy is ultimately an expression of the mind. Therefore, the transition from the energy state to the mind state constitutes a still further advance toward the God state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi. In the mind state, consciousness is directly linked with the mind. It is in no way fettered by the domination of the body or energy, but it is mind ridden. Advanced souls who are in the mind state can read and influence the minds of others. However, the mind ridden state is still within the domain of duality and illusion, and it has to be transcended before the attainment of union with the infinite. Any comments? Okay. Mind veils truth. The entire advance from the very beginning consists in gradually curtailing and transcending the working of the individual mind. The mind is functioning even in the body state and in the energy state. In the body state, the mind thinks in terms of the body, and in the energy state, it thinks in terms of energy, while in the mind state, it thinks in its own terms. However, even when the mind thinks in its own terms, it does not attain knowledge and realization of the infinite because it becomes its own veil between thought and truth. Though the mind may be unencumbered by life in the body state or the energy state, it is still limited by separative consciousness. It might be compared to a mirror that is covered with dust. The mind has therefore to be completely merged and dissolved in the infinite before it is possible to experience the God state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Form is solidified energy. Energy is an expression of mind. Mind is the covered mirror of eternity, and eternity is truth that has thrown off the mask of mind. Wow, this is amazing. Form is solidified energy. Energy is an expression of mind. Mind is the covered mirror of eternity, and eternity is truth that has thrown off the mask of mind. Form is solidified energy is amazing. I'm still wrapping my head around energy is expression of the mind. How does one understand that? And then mind is the covered mirror of eternity. That is what we just saw in the analogy of the mirror. And eternity is truth that has thrown off the mask of the mind. But beautiful
So,
expression.
Jai Baba,
Yeah.
yeah, the truth, basically, we are talking about Brahman, you know. And so, what we are seeing here is that, from that everything, as part, the nothing came out of nothingness, and this whole creation has started, right? So, basically, what we are seeing is first comes thought. That is what we call as, the vibrations, basically. So thought is vibrations, and then the thought is then turning into energy, and then energy is turning into solidified
The
matter form,
form.
basically. So matter, has three or four types: solid, liquid, gas, and plasma. So when you look at the Big Bang theory, when at trillion degrees centigrade this whole creation started, so basically it started to cool down from that plasma to proton, electron, neutron, and we know the whole mineral kingdom, plant kingdom, and so on. So basically these are just different phases. So the whole idea is that God is playing this in this divine dream. We are part of the divine dream. This is part of the what do you call, waking dream state from which we need to awaken, right? So this is the whole awakening part of what Baba is saying, and we need to know the what do you call, the dynamics of it. How this whole framework is designed. That is why when Praveen was talking about personal meditation and impersonal meditation, I was reading it again. Impersonal meditation has only to do with the mind, whereas personal meditation has to do with both mind and heart. So that is what the interesting part is, because which means you have to have the grace of a guru, which will help you to use your heart to attain God realization. Jai Baba.
Absolutely. So I think we'll take a pause here and continue in the next week, where we will also summarize the whole of meditation as done by the presentation, as well as probably uh, go through the references of Nirvikalpa Samadhi in God Speaks through Ashok's presentation. And yeah, I think that's it. Hello, Sanjay ji. Good to see you back.
Yeah, Jai Baba, Jai Baba.
Jai
I just
Baba.
came at about 3 in the
Yeah, I
morning.
noticed.
Yeah, Jai Baba.
Oh, you arrived just now. Okay.
Yeah,
You said you were traveling. Yeah.
Jai Baba. That
Jai Baba.
glow thing I tried to scan because the paper is so glossy. Every time I was having trouble. So
No,
I'll do
no,
that tomorrow.
I'll suggest
I'll do that tomorrow
an app.
on the machine. There is
Flatbed,
no,
okay.
yeah,
Flatbed scanner, yeah. Then it
difficult.
comes out best. Yes, yes.
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
No problem. So yeah, we'll read that as well next week. I forgot about
Yeah,
that.
yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, Jai Baba. Any other thoughts before we wrap up? I'll stop recording and tell Ashok something.
Yeah.
Uh,
We can take some, if Singapore is here, we can take some updates on the Singapore Savas.
nay, Singapore is not there.